For many years, only legends were told about an ancient city hidden in the heart of the mountains. Many tried to find it, but none returned. People said it was guarded by powerful gods who did not want its secrets revealed. The city was thought to be lost, until one day, a young traveler named Eamon discovered a mysterious map. The map was old, faded, and seemed to be nothing more than another myth, until Eamon deciphered it. Deep within the mountains, where no path led, lay the entrance to the long-forgotten city. Eamon decided to embark on the journey, hoping to find traces of his lost family, who had ventured along this route many years before. The journey was perilous, and the very land had a strange energy, dark, eerie, as if it thrived on hiding all that should not be found. Then, after many days of travel, Eamon discovered a mysterious portal. Once he entered it, he felt a sudden wave of confusion and fear. The city before him was abandoned, yet its ruins were incredibly well preserved. All around him, there were signs of something that seemed like a living force still guarding the city. Eamon began to explore the ruins, uncovering records of secrets and artifacts that could change the world. Soon, he realized the gods who had guarded the city were not merely a legend. In fact, they were still present, hidden in the form of mystical beings who watched his every move. As he began to discover ancient artifacts with the power to unleash forces that had been sealed away long ago, the gods decided it was time to act. Eamon found himself caught in a conflict between those who wanted to remain hidden and those who believed the world had the right to know their secrets. The gods challenged him to choose, to stay and become the city's guardian, or leave and forget everything he had discovered. Eamon had to face questions about his own nature, the fate of his family, and whether he was ready to confront the forces that could change the world. And in the end, when all the cards were laid out, he discovered that some secrets were meant to remain hidden, but others were too powerful to be forgotten. Eamon stood in the center of the ruins of the main sanctuary, where a strange artifact lay on the ground, a golden disc adorned with glowing runes. As soon as he touched it, the entire space around him changed. The walls of the sanctuary came alive with images of the past. He saw the city once thriving, surrounded by the wisdom and power of the ancient gods. But then something went wrong. The gods, once the city's protectors, turned against its inhabitants because the people sought to use their power for their own purposes. Eamon realized that the golden disc was the key, not only to understanding the past but also to awakening dormant forces that had been sealed away for millennia. The gods, however, appeared immediately. Their presence was palpable, like a weight pressing on his chest. 3 figures surrounded by both light and shadow hovered above the sanctuary. Each bore a different expression, one of anger, one of sorrow, and one of unwavering determination. "Your actions are reckless, mortal," declared the highest of the gods. His voice boomed like thunder, yet carried an undertone of regret. "You do not understand what you are awakening. This key was not made for you, nor for any mortal." Eamon lifted his head. "I seek only the truth. And I want to find my family. If this key can help me, then I will use it." "The truth has its price," spoke the second god, his voice like the whisper of the wind. "And you may not be ready to pay it." Suddenly, Eamon felt something pulling him toward the golden disc. The runes on it began to glow more intensely, and the space around him started to transform. The city, once in ruins, was restoring itself before his eyes. He saw the people who once lived there, felt their joy, but also their fear. And then came the catastrophe, a burst of immense energy that buried everything beneath the mountains. "This could happen again," warned the third god, his voice cold and emotionless. "If you use that key, you will unleash a force that knows no mercy. Are you prepared to face the consequences?" Eamon stood hesitantly. He was so close to answers he had sought all his life. But the price he might pay could be too high. In the end, he decided. Eamon closed his eyes and gripped the golden disc tightly. He could feel it pulsing in his hands, as if it were alive. He had made his decision. If the truth was so powerful that even the gods sought to protect it, then it deserved to be known, no matter the cost. "I am ready," he whispered, though deep down, fear lingered in his soul. the runes on the disc flared with blinding light, and the space around him exploded with energy. When the light subsided, Eamon found himself in an entirely different dimension. It was not the city he had known, nor the mountains he had come from. He floated in a void where time and space had no meaning. Before him appeared an enormous golden portal, adorned with the same runes as the disc. Beyond it, he heard voices, thousands of voices telling stories, singing songs, and screaming warnings. "This is the gateway to truth," one of the gods spoke. This time, however, the tone was not as stern. Instead, it sounded weary, as if resigned to Eamon's decision. "Once you pass through, you will never return as the person you were." Eamon looked down at the disc in his hands. The runes on it began to fade, as if transferring their power to the portal. There was no time for doubt. He stepped forward and entered the gateway. When he awoke, he was back in the city. But something was different. The city was no longer dead. The streets were bustling with people, light flooded the square, and in the distance, he could hear laughter and song. Yet Eamon knew this was not a victory. He realized that the past and the present had merged, awakening not only life but also forces that were meant to remain dormant. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see a young woman, her eyes glowing with the same light as the runes on the disc. "Welcome, Keeper," she said. "Your task has just begun." Eamon understood that he had not only unleashed the truth but had become its guardian. Now, he had to face what he had awakened, and discover whether his decision had been the right one. Eamon stood in the heart of the revived city, his mind flooded with questions. Who was the woman who had addressed him as the Keeper? What exactly had he awakened, and what power was now in his hands? The woman, who introduced herself as Liara, led Eamon to a grand temple on the edge of the city. The temple was majestic, adorned with golden symbols that pulsed with the same light as the portal. "This is where your initiation begins," Liara said in a calm but firm voice. "The truth you've uncovered is not just a story of the past. It's a living force that shapes the future. And now, you are its keeper." Eamon stopped before the massive temple doors, which opened on their own as if recognizing him. Inside was a room surrounded by mirrors, but they did not reflect his image. Instead, they showed various scenes, destroyed worlds, endless wars, but also peace and harmony. "What is this?" he asked, confused. "These are the paths," Liara replied. "Every decision you make now will affect not just this city, but the world beyond its borders. The mirrors show you what could happen if you choose wrongly." Eamon felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "Why me? I'm no hero or wise teacher. I'm just an ordinary man." Liara smiled. "Perhaps you were. But by opening the gateway, you accepted something greater. The truth chose you." As they spoke, the mirrors began to shift. One showed Eamon leading the city into a new age of prosperity. Another depicted chaos and darkness if he failed. The last mirror was empty. "What does the empty mirror mean?" he asked. Liara's expression grew somber. "That is the path you take if you choose to run away. No future, no legacy. Only oblivion." Eamon realized that running away was not an option. The responsibility he had taken on was far too great. He stepped toward the middle mirror, the one showing chaos, and placed his hand on it. "I must face what I've awakened. And I must set it right." The mirror glowed, and the room vanished. Eamon found himself back in the city, which now trembled with strange energy. People stopped in their tracks, looking toward the sky, where dark storm clouds began to form. Liara stood beside him. "It's starting. The gods will want the city back, and you must decide whether to fight them or convince them that the world is ready to know their secrets." Eamon looked up at the sky, where the dark clouds were beginning to thin. Among them, the silhouettes of the gods appeared, their power almost tangible. The storm surrounding the city grew stronger as people sought shelter, watching the heavens with fear. "It's time," Liara said, her voice steady but slightly uneasy. "You must decide. Fight them, or show them that humanity is worthy of the truth. Eamon felt his heart tighten with fear, but also with determination. He closed his eyes and listened to his inner voice. For a long time, he had sought the truth, but now he understood, it wasn't about the past or power. It was about the hope it could bring. He stepped forward, toward the storm. And looked up at the gods. "I have not come to fight," he shouted, his voice cutting through the thunderous roars. "I have not come to challenge you or claim your power. I have come to ask for your trust." The gods paused, their silhouettes frozen, and for a moment, silence reigned. The greatest of them, an enormous figure cloaked in radiance, leaned closer to Eamon. "Trust?" it repeated, its voice rumbling like an earthquake. "Humanity has betrayed us before. Why should we trust you again?" Eamon stood firm, his gaze unwavering. "Because we have learned. Because each of us knows what it means to lose family, home, and a future. And because we deserve the chance to try again. Just as you once gave yourselves a chance." Liara stepped beside him, her eyes glowing with runes, and placed a hand on his shoulder. "He's right," she said to the gods. "He's not perfect, but no mortal is. And that's exactly why he is the right keeper, he knows what's at stake." The gods retreated into a silent council. The storm quieted, though the dark clouds remained. Finally, the greatest god spoke. "Very well. We will give you a chance. But only one. Should humanity fail again, the truth will be sealed forever, and you will face the consequences." The golden disc in Eamon's hands glowed and shattered into many pieces, scattering to the far corners of the world. Each fragment carried a part of the truth, waiting for those ready to receive it. "Your task is now finished, but at the same time, it has just begun," said the god. "Go and lead your people. The truth is now yours, and so is the responsibility for it." The gods vanished, the storm dissipated, and the city was left in calm. People began emerging from their shelters, looking at Eamon and Liara, waiting for their words. Eamon realized that his journey had not just been about seeking answers but about becoming a leader, a protector, and a symbol of hope. "It's time to start again," he said to the crowd. Together. The city glowed with new energy as Eamon knew that the future was now in their hands.